Here's my England 11 that should be starting Euro 2024. If the tournament started tomorrow in Germany, this is who should be playing in my opinion. We'll talk about all the positions and players that should and shouldn't be on the plane to Germany. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe, would really appreciate that. Let's start off in goal. Easy for me, maybe the easiest, with exception to the striker, in the whole squad. I don't think Ramsdale's impressed enough. Nowhere near. He's made big mistakes, even this season, against Fulham, for example. Trafford, really exciting prospect. He's conceded, what, probably about 11 goals already in the Premier League, so no way. And then someone like Pope at Newcastle, his level has been good for a good 2 years now. 3 years, 4 years. He's already gone to tournaments with England, but he's nowhere near Jordan Pickford. Jordan Pickford kept Everton up last season. He kept them up the season before. He's the best shot stopper out of all three of them. He's a great leader. And he's had those moments for England of saving penalties. So I think absolutely Jordan Pickford has done nothing wrong to lose his place. If Aaron Ramsdale has a Champions League winning season for Arsenal, then there's a different debate. He won't. There's a world he doesn't even start for Arsenal in the next couple of weeks because of David Raya. So for me, it's Jordan Pickford in goal all day long. Also, at the end of this video, I'll kind of line up. I'll do a predicted lineup so you can see it as a graphic at the end of the video. So make sure you stick around for that as I talk about each player. Right back, by the way, 4-3-3. Right back for me, I think actually, I think at this point in kind of time, people thought Kyle Walker would be out of the situation. He'd be maybe in Bayern Munich, having a kick around, winning a couple of leagues. But the way he's kind of cemented himself back in the City 11, playing more football ever than he has in the last couple of years in terms of starts already this season. Massive in the Champions League final as well. So Kyle Walker has to start right back. Look, obviously there'll be rotation. If we get a harder team in the group, there might have to be a back five situation, maybe. But in a 4-3-3 against the sides that we could be competing against, this England side's special. We've got special talent. We've got to be using Kyle Walker's physicality, his speed, to enable us to play a back four, have the extra man in midfield. We don't want back fives at the start of the tournament, in my opinion. So Kyle Walker at right back. Of course, Reece James is fantastic. He's always injury prone, unfortunately. And someone like Trippier's had a fantastic time with England, massive goal against Croatia in the World Cup. I don't worry about his level. I think he's been fantastic for Newcastle, but I don't think he's at the same level as Kyle Walker. He obviously gets in the squad. He can play left back as well. And then Trent. I think Trent has to go on the plane. There has to be a plan in place to get him involved more and more. But I don't back him defensively. In a tournament, you've only got a few games to win it. If you concede silly goals in the group stages, you could be out. So Trent shouldn't be anywhere near the starting 11, in my opinion. Centre backs. It's a bit controversial. Obviously, John Stones is one of them. He's a generational centre back for England, and there's no question about that. And if you question that, unsubscribe from the channel, because he's the best of his era. There's no question about it. Alongside him, I worry about Levi Colwill. I thought even a couple of weeks ago I was tweeting saying, oh, he should be starting and for England and going straight into the starting 11. I worry about even his pace. I mean, at Chelsea he's been exposed. I worry about Chelsea if they have a really poor season again this season. He'll be under a lot of scrutiny, Levi Colwill, and his confidence won't be massively high. And he might be a part of a defence that concedes loads. So he's fantastic at Brighton. He's a fantastic talent. He has to go on the plane. I don't think you can justifiably start him in the tournament at the moment, and that's what this video is about. It's about my 11. If I was the England manager right now, who starts right now? It's Harry Maguire, lads. I'm so sorry. I know he's not playing much. I know he turned down that move to West Ham, which I think is detrimental to his career. Obviously, he's got the right to kind of earn the money he wants to stay at Man United, but he has to start. His performances for England have been stellar. That's the reality. He's one of the best defenders still in this country in terms of off-the-ball defending. He gets running a little bit behind, but I think if you've got Kyle Walker, John Stones, who've got good pace, and left back, and someone like Pickford who can sweep a little bit as well, you can't sit here and tell me that someone like Tomori, who I think at points you could see struggled. I mean, struggled against Chelsea in the Champions League last season. That's the reality. Mark Gahey at Crystal Palace, I don't think he's got the experience yet. Lewis Dunk is a great shout because of what he's done at Brighton. But then you've got to factor in Lewis Dunk's level is probably a little bit higher than Maguire's here. I'm doing it on screen. But Maguire's experience in tournament football just takes him above Lewis Dunk. That's the reality. So I think you have to start Harry Maguire, get him minutes. A bit like at the World Cup. He's been ever present in this England side. He's not injury prone. Harry Maguire, whatever you say, if he doesn't start for Man United, you still know what you're getting with a centre-back. You don't need him to be scoring 20 goals a season. You know, if Marcus Rashford doesn't play a minute of football for Man United, he's not going to start for England, because England need people that are on form, confidence, to score goals. Harry Maguire is a little bit different. You can just, you know what you're going to get with him. So he starts for me. Left back's easy. Luke Shaw. I think he's had a better 18, 24 months for England than Chilwell. Chilwell's fantastic. I prefer him in a back five, probably. I think Luke Shaw can do everything as a left back in a back four. I think that's pretty straightforward. Now, the midfield is going to be controversial. One of Calvin Phillips or Jordan Henderson has to go. They don't start in my 11, but one of them has to go, because the more you look at the kind of defensive position situation in this 4-3-3, there's so many limited options for Gareth Southgate. That's the reality. A lot of creative players. Eze's in the squad, of course. James Maddison, Phil Foden, Jack Grealish. But there's a real lack of defensive midfielders. So one of those two has to go. For me, it would be Calvin Phillips, because he is playing in the Premier League. He's playing around winners. Jordan Henderson's playing with, you know, a plumber from Saudi Arabia, and then maybe randomly Benzema on the other end of the pitch. The league's not developed enough. You can't have a guy from El Ettifaq playing for England at the Euros in such a crucial tournament. I'm sorry. That's the reality. So obviously at the base of midfield, Declan Rice, his level will be so much better now he's playing at Arsenal. I already think his stature's improved. I even think he's put on muscle. I think he looks a lot bigger, a lot more built in that Arsenal kit. So I think he'll be a dominating midfield presence more than he ever has been for England. Alongside him, Jude Bellingham. Now, at Real Madrid, Jude Bellingham is playing almost as a 10. I mean, he's playing so high up the pitch, scoring goals, getting Player of the Match awards. So there is a world where you can't actually ask Bellingham to do the defensive work, because he'll be expected to be a forward-thinking, goal-scoring midfielder. He has to start, of course. He's at a point now, he's probably England's second best player in terms of raw talent. Maybe first best player based on scaled down to his agent, etc. But he's a generational talent. He has to play. It's about if Gareth Southgate wants two men behind him, or he thinks Bellingham can cover ground defensively as well, which obviously is so important in a tournament. Now, alongside him, obviously I'm a City fan. I want Phil Foden to be playing. I've not seen enough from Gareth Southgate to instill confidence in me, thinking he'll get the most out of Phil Foden. He'll probably try and shove him on the wing. He'll probably try and use him as a winger. Mason Mount nowhere near. I think there's a debate if he even goes Mason Mount, based on how poor he's been for Man United. Conor Gallagher's in the squad. He can do a lot of leg work. If we randomly get drawn against a monster side in the group, you could expect Conor Gallagher to maybe be in the side just on legs. But I don't back him. He's got no quality on the ball. So for me, it's pretty simple. It's James Maddison in midfield. He's Paul Gascoigne. He's got the Glenn Hoddle about him. He's got that unique ability to drive with the ball, to score incredible goals, to get other people playing football. Phil Foden is almost so enshrined in the Guardiola system that it's a bit like, I don't know, maybe it's a bit like Fabregas in the kind of Del Bosque Spain side. It's a little bit, you don't know how to play him a little bit. He kind of floats around. He's talented. He can kind of play anywhere, but I think you have to get James Maddison in that attacking midfielder role that he's playing for Spurs. I think he'd raise the level of Saka. I think he'd get Rashford scoring goals. I think he'd help Harry Kane. And I think who would Harry Kane rather play with? I think he'd rather play James Maddison than Phil Foden, and that's a massive factor. So James Maddison has to go in for me. It's a massive tournament for him. I think his level's so good at the moment, and if he stays this way for 8 months, 9 months, has to be starting, has to be a massive factor, and it's his kind of tournament. This is Gascoigne, you know, in 86, 90. That it feels that way for me. The front three, I don't want Rashford starting football matches for England at the moment. I still think there's a lack in his game. He loses the ball too many times. He scored a great goal against Arsenal, but starting the game is different. You want control. You don't want to be losing it 15 times in the first half, and that's what Rashford brings you, unfortunately. He's more of a counter-attacking player. I think you need that after 30 minutes of the second half. So Jack Grealish gets in on the left. He can tuck in as a midfielder. He can do the defensive work. He can pack the midfield a little bit, drop deep. He can stretch the play as well. And obviously, when you feed him the ball, you're not going to lose it. He can stretch a team by being so far on the touchline, and then give it back into Luke Shaw, give it back into Jude Bellingham or James Maddison. Keep possession, recycle possession. It's very, very important. On the right, Saka's been incredible. He's been incredible for 2 years straight, 3 years straight for Arsenal. Obviously, fantastic last season in particular. this season, if he's yeah, there is no debate. Saka's starting in this 11. Sterling's level's so far off it. I think he'll be lucky to get on the plane, Sterling. Really, and maybe that's a bit unfair, but that's just the reality of it. You know, this England side has to be ruthless. It has to be. You know, I think we felt lucky to be playing France. We felt happy to be in a tie against the world champions, and we lost, and it was pathetic. So I don't want players that are just there for kind of sentimentality. And Saka's just this ruthless player, and he has to be starting. And then Harry Kane. Look, Callum Wilson will give him a decent option if he wasn't fit. Harry Kane. But Callum Wilson, every day of the week, is number one option behind maybe Ivan Toney, but he won't be playing enough football. Isn't really liked by Southgate. And then Harry Kane. And I think the move to Bayern Munich gives him a winning factor, gives him a ruthlessness. Hopefully by the Euros, he's a league winner. If he's not a league winner in Germany, by Euro 2024 Germany, it's the most Harry Kane Spurs thing ever. So he'll be a league winner, maybe a Champions League winner, and that mentality is something that I think is deeply lacking in Harry Kane, and something that obviously Bayern Munich will give him. So Harry Kane down the middle, that's my 4-3-3. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Any misses, any big shouts that I've left out, let me know. I'll see you very, very soon.